What if the person in your old family photo started showing up in your house every night? Some say memories can haunt you, but what if they're trying to come back? They told him the woman in that picture died 50 years ago, so why did she just knock on his door tonight? He found the photo by accident, tucked between the yellowed pages of an old book he bought from a thrift store in Oregon. A faded picture of a woman standing in front of a red barn, smiling like she knew the world's secrets. He didn't recognize her face, but something in her eyes felt familiar, like a memory buried under years of silence. The photo was dated 1978, and on the back, written in blue ink, were the words, "Come back to me, Jack." His heart skipped. He didn't know any Jack, but the name echoed in his head all the way home. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept staring at the photo, the way her hand was reaching, just slightly out of frame, as if someone stood beside her. The next morning, he went back to the thrift store, asked the old man behind the counter where the book came from. The man shrugged, said donations come from everywhere, but that one may be from an old farmhouse outside town, belonged to a woman who passed away last year. He drove there. The farmhouse still stood on a lonely hill, weathered wood and silence wrapped in autumn air. A neighbor told him the woman's name was Evelyn, that she lived alone for decades, never married, always waiting for someone who never came back. The photo trembled in his hand. He felt like he was trespassing on someone's heart. Inside the house, everything was frozen in time. Floral curtains, lace on the table, a faint scent of lavender and dust. He found letters in a drawer, tied with a red ribbon, each one addressed to Jack, each one never sent. The words spoke of war, of promises, of nights under the stars before everything changed. He read them until his eyes blurred. Then he saw something strange in the corner of one photo on the wall. A man in uniform standing beside her, same barn, same smile. The man's face looked exactly like him. He stumbled back, breath caught in his chest. He'd never seen that place, never met that woman, yet the resemblance was undeniable. He searched the attic, hoping for an explanation, found a box marked Summer of '78. Inside were newspaper clippings, an engagement ring, a train ticket to Seattle, and one unopened letter. The letter had his own last name on it, handwritten in that same blue ink. He hesitated, hand shaking, as thunder rolled outside the house. The rain started to fall, tapping against the old glass windows. He opened it slowly and read the first line. "My dearest Jack, if you ever find this letter, it means fate has brought you back to where we began. I never stopped waiting for you. I never stopped believing that somehow, some way, you would return, even if it was in another lifetime." His breath grew shallow. The words felt like they were meant for him, yet written half a century ago. The rain outside turned heavy, wind whispering through the cracks of the house, like voices calling his name. He looked around, and for a moment he thought he saw her by the window, her figure faint and glowing, the same smile from the photo. His heart raced. He blinked, and she was gone. But the scent of lavender lingered. The air felt warm, like someone just passed by. He took the ring from the box, slid it into his pocket, unsure why it felt there. When he stepped outside, the storm had cleared, and the clouds opened, showing a sunset that painted the barn gold. He turned back once more, and saw her name carved faintly on the door. Evelyn Grace, 1949 to 2023. The years didn't make sense, but somehow neither did the pull he felt, the ache deep in his chest, like remembering a dream too real to forget. He drove back to town, lost in thought,
his mind spinning between past and present, between her and the man in the picture. At a red light, he looked into the rearview mirror, and for a split second, the reflection staring back at him wasn't his own. It was the soldier in uniform. Same eyes, same face, same sorrow. He slammed the brakes, heart pounding, staring at the empty road. His reflection normal again, but his hands were trembling. When he reached home, he placed the photo on his nightstand, turned off the lights, and lay in silence. Then he heard it. A faint
Jack,
knock on the
You
door.
came back.
Slow,
The
deliberate,
voice was soft,
3 times,
trembling like
someone
wind
who
through
knew
leaves,
him long ago.
and it froze him in
He
place.
stood frozen,
His hand
every part of
hovered
him
over the
telling
handle,
him not to
heart
open it,
hammering.
yet
He
something
whispered,
deeper whispering
"Who are you?"
that he had to.
But no sound
The
left his
knocking
throat.
came again,
He
softer
opened
this
the door
time,
slowly,
like a memory
and there
calling
she
his
was,
name.
standing
He
in the
walked
faint
toward the
glow
door,
of the porch
slowly,
light. Her
every
hair
step
damp from the
heavier than the
rain,
last.
her eyes
His
the
hand
same as in
reached
the
for the
photo.
handle, and
She
before he
looked
could
real,
breathe,
not
he
a
heard her
ghost,
voice
not a dream,
from the other
just a
side.
woman waiting after a long lifetime. "You promised you'd find me," she said, and her voice cracked like she had been holding those words for decades. He stepped back, unable to speak, his mind spinning every memory that wasn't his, flashing like a storm behind his eyes. Images of trains, of laughter, of her running through fields, her hand in his uniform stained with dust and goodbye. He whispered, "I don't remember," and she smiled, the saddest smile he had ever seen. "You will," she said, "when the time is right." Then she reached out her hand, the same way she did in the picture, and the moment he touched her, everything around him shifted. The air turned warm, the scent of lavender grew stronger, and suddenly he wasn't standing in his house anymore. He was standing in a field under a golden summer sky, the barn bright red behind them, the sound of cicadas and laughter in the distance. She was younger, her dress white, her eyes shining. She held his face and whispered, "Don't leave this time." He felt tears burn down his cheeks, though he didn't know why. The ring in his pocket grew warm, like it remembered everything he had forgotten. He looked down at his hands, and they were no longer his. They were the hands from the photo, strong, scarred, the hands of Jack. And as he turned toward her, she whispered the words that broke the air like a secret returning home. "You found your way back to me, Jack," she said, her voice soft like the summer wind, and he felt the world slow around them. The sound of her laughter, the rustle of the trees, the faint hum of a distant train. It all felt like a memory breathing again. He tried to speak, but his throat closed. The moment was too full, too real, like time itself was holding its breath. She reached for his hand. Their fingers touched, and the warmth of it pulled him deeper into a life he almost remembered. He saw flashes of nights by the river, promises whispered under stars, the train ticket in his hand, the choice he made to leave, and the one he never returned to make right. Her eyes shimmered as if she knew he remembered. She whispered, "You left, but you never really went away." He stepped closer, feeling the earth under his feet, the scent of summer rain, the echo of everything lost and found. Then the sound changed. The sky darkened. The field began to fade. The barn grew distant like smoke dissolving into air. He called her name, reaching for her, but she was already slipping away, her face turning into light, her voice breaking through the wind. "Find me again, Jack. Find me where the story never ended." The light swallowed the field. The photo in his pocket began to hum with a faint glow. He shut his eyes, and when he opened them, he was back in his room, gasping for air. The photo now different.
the woman still there, but standing beside him, their hands intertwined. His reflection in the glass showed the same uniform, the same eyes that once looked at her through time. And outside the window, the sound of a train passing in the distance, slow fading, carrying a whisper that sounded like her name. He stood frozen, the photo still glowing faintly in his trembling hands, his chest heavy with something he couldn't explain. The train sound grew louder, echoing through the quiet night, like a call from another time, another place. He walked outside, barefoot, the ground cold, the air thick with the smell of rain and iron. The sound of the train came closer, though no tracks ran near his house. He followed it through the fog, down the empty road that curved behind the woods. Each step felt familiar, like retracing a path his heart already knew. He saw a faint light ahead, the silhouette of an old station, broken boards, weeds crawling through the cracks, a sign barely hanging that read, "Seattle Line." The platform was empty, except for one bench, and a flickering lantern sitting beside it. He picked up the lantern, and that's when he saw her again, standing at the far end of the platform, her dress flowing like smoke, her eyes fixed on him. "You kept your promise," she said, and her words drifted through the air like a forgotten song. He wanted to run to her, but his legs wouldn't move. The sound of the train roared closer, the ground trembling beneath him. She looked at him one last time, her smile soft, her eyes shining with
The
tears.
train began
and
to
whispered,
move slow
"This
at
time,
first,
don't
then
miss it."
faster,
The
the
whistle
wind
blew
pulling through
long
his
and low,
hair,
and
the
a
world
bright light
outside
filled the
fading
station.
into
A
streaks
train
of
of
gold
silver
and
and
gray.
shadow
She
sliding
sat
silently
beside
into
him,
place.
her head
The
resting on
doors
his
opened,
shoulder,
no one
eyes
inside,
closed,
just
like
the
peace
echo of
had
their laughter
finally
from
found
long
her.
ago.
He looked
stepped
out the
forward,
window,
heart
saw the
pounding,
town, the
knowing if he got
farmhouse,
on,
the barn,
everything would
all
change.
slipping
Yet
away like
something deep
pages
inside
turning in
told him he
reverse.
already
The
belonged there.
photo lay on the
She
seat
reached out her
between
hand
them,
again,
the
and
colors
he took it,
shifting
the
until it
warmth
showed
spreading
them
through
both
his chest
together,
as the
smiling
lantern light
under a
flickered
summer
and went
sky.
out.
He felt no fear, no weight, just a quiet knowing that every road, every lifetime had led to this moment. The light grew brighter, softer, wrapping them both in warmth and silence. She whispered, "We found our way home," and her voice faded into the hum of the train. He closed his eyes, the sound of the wheels on the track slowing until there was nothing but stillness. And somewhere beyond time, the field returned, the barn stood red and bright, and two figures walked hand in hand through the tall grass, disappearing into the horizon.